All right. Happy Tuesday, guys. Welcome back to Retrial. I'm super excited. Oh, wait, let me back up. I'm Elle, for those of you who don't know me. Um, yeah, let's dive into. I'm super happy to have Miss Jennifer Duclair, renowned bar exam and attorney life coach, joining us. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in, especially middle of the day. But thanks for spending your lunch hours with me. Jennifer, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your law school journey.
Yeah, first, thank you for bringing me on. I really love that you reached out and I was able to make space for this. And I love talking to the bar exam and law school crowd. So hopefully this is hitting the ears of the person who really needs it. I started out in law school, just kind of probably wet behind the ears. I had a little bit of life experience, after racing through college and graduating at 19. I decided to take a year, go around the world, do some things. But when I did start law school, I was not the traditional student. I was already married, I had a child. And so law school saw me for classes and moot court and a few other things, but that was it. There were no pub crawls or any of those other, extras, right? Nevertheless, I thought I was all set and golden. I went to a top tier law school, graduated, sat for my bar exam. And I don't know if you know anything about me today, but I got the shock of my life when I sat for that first bar exam. And I took a little bit of a journey, which you'll probably hear more about later in this. But when I finally was able to succeed over that, I breathed a sigh of relief. I started practicing law. I got my little corner office with a beautiful view and all that. I'd been with the same firm moving from paralegal to lawyer. So it was just a much awaited transition. And then it hit me that I really needed to find some kind of deeper purpose, or else I was going to burn out in law. And that's when, I guess everybody gets to that point where they realize, it's time to turn around and help the people who are crossing the same terrain that you once crossed. And I dove in. I melded my training in psychology, education, and my love of giving advice into a bar exam mindset coaching and helping people to go faster without the hangups and pitfalls across this bar exam hurdle than I did, for sure. Turns out mindset coaching for the bar was something that wasn't out there. And so there has been and it is still a high demand for it. And I'm glad to be able to be of service in that way in the legal field. And it just grew from this tiny thing to this huge thing so that now it's my full-time thing. And I love doing it. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and how I got here.
That is amazing. And no, I did not know that about you and your bar exam journey. And how dope is that? Psychology background? We love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So, what made you want to go to law school in the first place?
Okay, so here's the thing. You know when you're in elementary school and you get those notes on your report card that says talks too much in class? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
fellow talk
How,
to my child.
how many of us got here because of that? So there was talks too much, and I think that my propensity to debate with my teachers on things had them tell me things like, "You should become a lawyer." Now looking back, it might not have been as complimentary as I thought, but it still made an impact because here I am today, right?
You
So
know, I think that's like their subtle way of saying you're a little jerk.
you're arguing too much. Be quiet and sit down. But I mean,
It paid off.
kids, we take things black and white. So I was like, oh, maybe I should be a lawyer. And I took different routes because, believe it or not, there are a lot of people, cultures, for whatever reason, they may not like look on lawyers as highly for whatever reason. And I think it's probably more in, you know, for lack of a better word, unsophisticated crowds, like you've never needed a lawyer, so you don't know the value of it and you just have stereotypes about them, right? So I kind of put that off a little bit and thought I would become a doctor. Then I thought I'd become a therapist. Then, but after a circuitous route and even starting a first career in education, um, I just later said, you know what? I'm going to live my life for me. I'm going to do what I wanted. And the earliest thought that I had was becoming a lawyer. And I was turned off by that at the tender young age of 10. But in my 20s, I reclaimed my life and said, I'm going to go to law school and I don't care who approves. And so I did it, that and the military, because there was a thing against that too. Yeah. So I started both at the same time while raising a toddler on my own. Yeah, very ambitious, very dive into the deep end.
Oh, you are a superhero. Got it.
I do what I can.
I love that. And it's hard. Like I got married in law school, divorced during my LLM. So
Wow. Trials.
it's like it's such a different experience, like when you're not just straight K through JD or whatever they call it. Like
Exactly.
when you have like some type of life experience on the
Yeah.
back end, it makes the entire law school, taking the bar, everything a bit different. So
Yeah.
I'm happy you shared that with us.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're welcome. My experience is becoming more common. A lot of people are doing less of the whole K through JD. Now it's still the majority, but there are more and more non-traditional law graduates out there. And I'm happy to be able to show them that it can be done just as easily, even if you're not like straight through.
Mhm.
And then I get those people who are straight through and they come to me for bar exam mindset coaching and they're like, I don't have any of the hurdles that you had. This shouldn't be so hard for me. And that's what goes to show, like, it's a mindset thing. It's not necessarily how many hurdles you have in your life. It's more like how are you meeting it mentally? And I'm so passionate about that. You're gonna have me talking about that all day.
Yeah, that's what we all need,
Yeah.
especially me. Like I shared with you the other day, how I found you is while I was still in the throes of my bar exam journey. So I took the UBE. I got a passing UBE score, but I was very unhappy with my score
Mm.
because it still felt like a failure.
Oh,
Doesn't make sense, right?
you
But
passed.
those are not facts. So I took the bar a couple more times after I got that passing UBE score, and I came across your mind one of your mindset sessions. The second to last time I took it, again, all after I got an
A passing
eligible
score.
passing UBE score. Yeah, but I found it was, I can't remember exactly what it was called, but this was like back in like 2020, early 2021. But I came across one of your workshops, and there was this sheet that like helped you like map out certain mental roadblocks, and that made a big difference for
Oh,
me because again, I was still operating from this like, oh, I'm at a deficit because I did not get this exact score for this exact state. Almost let my good score expire. You have to get out of your own way. It's
looking back on that, what do you think was behind all that? I'm just so curious.
um part of it is I'm the first lawyer in my family, like, many of us. And I'm a born and raised New Yorker. Like I've lived a few other places and bounced around a little bit, but like New York has always been home. And so for me, I felt like I still failed because I did not pass for New York.
Oh, I see. Okay. That's understandable. I can see that. I can see that. Yeah. So
Might
what
have
did you end up
been
doing?
an ego thing.
Uh,
It might have been an ego thing too.
Maybe, but it's your home state and you hope to be able to practice there. And so I get like I want to pass for the state that I call home. I get that. What did you end up doing?
I transferred my UBE score and got my Esquire and called it a day.
Yeah. What most people would have done. Have you ever thought of waving in or
Yeah, I am about halfway through my waving in period
Mm,
for New
mm,
York. I
mm,
can I can sit for a couple of the attorneys exams in some of the other states,
mhm,
Georgia in particular. I was
mhm.
thinking about that just in case. I don't
Uh-huh.
know.
Okay.
I'm considering other options, but the most important piece was getting that license.
Yes.
Get out of You have to be able to kinda get out of your own way, and it's so hard to
Yes.
do that.
Yeah, yeah. And you said that the sheet helped you to, like, overcome or identify some of your, mental blocks?
Yeah,
Okay.
it did. It was, again, another emphasis on get out of your own way, because literally no one around me really was saying the things that I was saying to me.
Mm.
Like, my family's just like, "Oh my god, we're proud of you anyway. We don't care.
Yeah.
We don't care where you're born. We don't care what you do. We're proud of you." But I'm just like, "Yeah, no."
Uh-huh. Hardest on yourself. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get Yeah, a lot of the bar candidates that I help have that, where they're their own worst enemy. And to be fair, driving oneself hard like that is probably what got you this far. It's just that you reach a point where it peaks and there's diminishing returns and it's not that helpful anymore. And recognizing you've reached that peak is the part that's usually lost
mm,
on people like us, hard drivers, right? So recognizing, okay, this used to work for me, but it doesn't work anymore. That's the first hurdle. But then the second hurdle is now, how do I stop doing this? And that's arguably the hardest one because you've been doing that since kindergarten or maybe even earlier, right? It's a
very
decades long ingrained habit that has actually served you well. So, how do you really let it go? It's a whole mindset reprogramming involved in that. So, sometimes people come and find me like 2 weeks before their bar exam, and it's like, okay, let's give you a crutch to get you through this, but know that you're going to have to work on this for real once you finish this bar because it will crop up in your attorney life. And that's how I actually bridged into attorney life coaching, is because a lot of this stuff, it's not the bar. The bar highlighted what was already there. So we might get you a crutch to get past the bar, and hopefully that works. It's better if you can get in sooner and just like do a deeper change, an actual rewiring and reprogramming of your mind, but in any event, you can get past the bar with an awareness of what this is and where it comes from and how to just keep it at bay for the meantime. And a lot of my candidates tell me they hear my voice in their head while they're moving through their bar exam day, and it helps to keep them grounded. Hey, whatever works. I got tons of YouTube videos and recordings that you can listen to and program my voice into your brain. But on the other side, it still has to be worked on because it'll get in the way of appearing for trial. It'll get in the way for new assignments that you may not have all the information at your fingertips for, maybe not have great mentors, who've hired you. Maybe they're not good at mentoring. And so that self doubt, that driving yourself hard, all of that will lead into working extra long hours, jumping at everybody's command. And so you put your own work off until everybody else goes home. And now you're working all night and weekend, redoing and redoing your work, or being so paralyzed before you start that you run out of time to do a good job. Like all of those things show up and it's from the same root of you're being your own worst critic and criticism being your way of moving yourself forward instead of adopting something that's more efficient and effective. Right. So it makes complete sense that you went about it like that because like that's I'm going to say 95% of people who became lawyers got here that way, right? Through requiring more of ourselves, because this is not something easy to have accomplished. So if you've graduated law school by now, you've already defeated dragons, right? To go. And sometimes it takes a little bit of mindset shift to close that gap and close, cross the last hurdle, but it can be done. You've done hard things already if you've gotten this far.
I try to always just stress that, especially to those who are like retaking it. It's just like, it's okay. You're not a failure in life. You
Yeah.
just did not pass that one test. But think about every other test or every other thing that you have accomplished. So don't like kind of beat yourself up about it. Let's compartmentalize. Figure out, all right, how am I gonna get through this hurdle? So I like that you said you're able to kind of give people like a crutch or like a little bridge to get them over this one hump, but it's definitely important to kind of like reframe, retrain your brain.
Exactly. Yeah, that's so a lot of our work is geared towards doing that. And it can be done in a gentle way. Like if a person downloads one of my workbooks or one of the on-demand courses, it brings you through a questioning process and presents it in a way that's engaging and fun. And you don't even realize you're rewiring your brain in the process. It might sound complicated, but it's not. You just have to have the expertise to know how to do it. And if you just grab a workbook and answer the questions, you're already doing it, right? So
Mhm.
that part is, I think, the most valuable because the people that come through my doors find that their family lives have changed. They're getting better jobs, or getting upgraded positions in their jobs, promoted to higher pay, higher responsibility, even before they've passed the bar exam. It's just because their aura changes, their attitude changes, and rewiring. When you do it at the deepest level, it's not just about getting today's result, it's about having a widespread up leveling of your life. Because honestly, how you do one thing is how you do everything. The bar exam and any trials and tribulations you may have related to it, it's just highlighting how you are in other areas of your life. It just wasn't a problem until you went to take the bar exam, or maybe it wasn't a big enough problem, right? Now, some people come at it with, oh, I just need to study harder. They don't even realize that the mindset and the emotions are playing into it, right? But think about this. If you could stop beating yourself up and thus have more emotional energy, if you could stop studying and go rest instead of saying, no, I have to keep going, I don't know enough. If you could balance your life, wouldn't your brain feel healthier, more sleep? Your heart is fueled because you stopped to chat with your friends and chat with your mom instead of isolating yourself. You've validated yourself instead of beating yourself up. So your brain is like, oh, we're safe. We're not getting constantly punished here. Position to learn and retain. Your emotions and your mindset has a lot to do with your score. And people who go, no, I just need to study harder, they may eat past the bar, with a lower score than they wanted. But that and I really hope that whatever other instance brings the lesson back, it's a soft an easy lesson, because I don't play with life. Like, it showed me on the first fail of my bar exam, okay, something's not right here. I've never failed at anything academic in my life. I mean, I only applied to one law school, my top tier law school, because that's the one that I wanted to go to, and it never occurred to me not to get it. I never failed at anything. Okay. So for me to
Love
fail the bar exam was a wake up call, and I had to pay attention. The second time is like, oh, okay, nope, that's all I need. One time, two times, I need to dig deep. And that's when I went off the beaten trail, and I didn't think drilling more academics was it. And I started to like get into, what's my mind doing? Why am I sabotaging and holding myself back? Because I know I can do this, right? And I solved that, and I sailed through the bar. If I had passed the bar without that, I could see how my attorney life would have blown up in my face because of not solving that. So sometimes, and a lot of times, people that come to me say, you know what? It was actually a blessing that I got stopped up at the bar exams phase, because if I didn't fix this here and now, I can't even tell you what disaster would have been waiting for me as a lawyer. And this issue comes up. And we see it all the time in the bar discipline reports and things where people's baby problems before they got their license became real big problems after they got their license because more power, more responsibility, bigger ways to mess up. So it's actually a
Mhm.
benefit if you could catch it sooner and fix it at this stage. Yeah.
Agreed,
Mhm, mhm,
because burnout is a thing. I
mhm.
literally did not get any kind of passing score until I stopped sitting in front of the computer crying for 12
Mm.
hours.
Oh my.
It's
That's
like your brain literally cannot function in that way.
yeah, yeah. Mhm.
But I thought we all were sitting in front of the computer for decades. I thought that was the only way.
I have, I mean, my mentees right now, I mean, some of them are able to if you know how you learn and you know how to cater to yourself in your studies, you're able to, like, meld your studies to your life so that it doesn't have to be the soul-sucking thing. I think that's the part that probably trips up most bar takers is that it's soul-sucking, so that not only are they hating the process, but they're so fearful of having to redo the process in case they fail. So now it becomes this thing of desperation. I have to pass now because I can't imagine having to do this again. But when people like tailor their studies and I show them how to do that, then studying becomes just a everyday life activity. And it's like, oh, some people find that they can study while they, shoot hoops, on the basketball court. Yes. Um, this one professor, I spoke at a university in her law school class, and she says, "Yeah, I only studied for the bar for 2 weeks and then I passed." And so I said, "Okay, let me ask some questions." And come to find out, she had, unbeknownst to herself, tailored her studies to her personality and drive so that it didn't feel like she was studying. But the truth is, she was studying for a year and a half, but she just didn't feel like she was studying until she chained herself to her desk for 12 hours a day. And that part only took place for 2 weeks. And that's what she said, I studied for just 2 weeks. And so the aim is to get to that place where your studying is so tailored to you that it doesn't feel like the punishing kind of studying that we think of. And when you found that sweet spot, then it's not this do or die, right? It's just like this is just a normal everyday in the life. And your practice scores will support that you tailoring the studies to yourself works. So we do that every day because I don't think people need to suffer. You don't need to suffer unnecessarily. And while you know, commercial bar reviews might not help you tailor it that way, that tailoring is available. Like you can do it in a way that feeds your heart, feeds your personality needs, makes you feel good, gives you what you want. I mean, I had one candidate, she was overstudying, and we chatted in the mentoring circle. We meet every Wednesday night, and her thing was she needed some kind of certainty that what she was doing was enough. And
Hmm.
her way of getting that certainty was to keep doing more. It's like, no, no, no. It's 11 o'clock at night. You need to go to sleep, right? And so, what would give her certainty? Well, that's where the background in psychology and all that other stuff comes in, right? So, we brought in the tools that'll help her to feel certain because she was overstudying in order to give herself a certain feeling. But that overstudying meant her brain function went down and her practice scores went down. So, she was actually working against herself. She wasn't getting that certainty. So we had to bring in other ways for her to get that certainty so that she could stop studying when it was time to stop studying and go to bed. Right? It's little things like that that'll trip you up if you're the one running the race and also trying to watch your form and see how you do. You can't do both. Right? You're either putting all your energy into running the race and letting someone else coach you, or you're the coach. Maybe you watch a videotape of yourself and you go, "Oh, this is how I need to change." But in the bar exam world, that means failing the bar first and then going back and figuring out what happened so you could change. We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. So you just focus on getting your bar done and you get someone to watch you and tell you what to change in the moment so you can be done with this the first time, right? So that's how we approach it, and this is how we solve that whole crying in front of the computer for 12 hours thing. Like, no, don't suffer, please don't suffer. You don't have to suffer to pass this bar.
You don't. I really just want people to know that. Like, you you don't have to be like I was, okay? I was miserable. It was not good. Not healthy. So
Sorry.
question, you mentioned that that one student actually like kept ramping up. Would you do you normally advise people to not ramp up the like in this last week? So maybe people are just like, oh, I really need to be chained to my desk for 15 hours each day until this test comes. Do you think
Yeah,
that's
it's definitely not recommended because burnout and fatigue is real. And I found that most of the reason why people ramp up is to try and soothe anxiety. They're trying to outrun thoughts and emotions. So whether it's a fear of failing, fear of not knowing enough, or maybe they're trying to catch up and deny their procrastination, from the first couple of months. And now they're trying to catch up and they're in denial that this thing is going to bite them because they put it off. And most people procrastinate not because they're irresponsible, but because of fear. Fear puts us in freeze mode and that will cause procrastination. Okay? So if you're already afraid of being overwhelmed or you're afraid of the emotional toll of bar prep, which is like the main thing we work on is removing that emotional toll so that you don't procrastinate and you do give yourself breathing room. So if you're afraid of bar prep for whatever reason, you may have procrastinated and now you have to ramp up in the last few weeks, not recommended. So there's lots of reasons why a person may be doing it, but the blanket statement is no, you don't need to be ramping up. In fact, this is a time to be resting, rejuvenating, refueling, feeding your heart with things that you may have missed out on. Maybe you skipped out on some friend things. Maybe you now is not the time to deprive yourself even more emotionally because what that does is it gives you the resilience of a sheet of paper. There's no bounce back. There's no, one thing goes wrong bar exam morning and you're spiraling, right? Because you don't have a cushion of resilience. And that resilience doesn't come from studying more. You've been studying for weeks. That resilience is going to come from, connecting with yourself and your heart. What are the things that you usually do that make you feel good, whether it's journaling, taking a bath, talking to a friend, shooting hoops, taking long drives. Like you need to start pouring back into yourself so that you have that emotional cushion of resilience when you go to the bar exam. Lots of people end up staying in their hotel room and crying instead of walking into the bar, or end up going on day one and can't come back day two because they just have no bounce back, right? So two-pronged approach is one, take care of all those thoughts that cause you to spiral so that you don't. But two, make sure your heart is filled. Make sure your emotional cup is topped off so that if something does happen, you have some bounce back, emotional resilience, right? So don't ramp up. Find out why you feel the urge to ramp up. Get on the phone with me if you need to, but don't ramp up because that actually like is a precursor to unforeseen disaster, right? It's not going to give you what you think it's going to give you, which is that emotional soothing. It's just not. And it's almost like a drug. I found that people that did it and they felt a little bit more relaxed, the next minute something hit like a lower practice score set, they would need like much more over studying in order to soothe from that. And it just would spiral out of control. It really is like a drug, this whole overstudying thing. Best to just address the actual problem than to keep layering on these self-soothing techniques that are really inefficient.
good to know? So what would your top two pieces of advice or like last minute study or not study tips? Like what would the top two or three, what would you say?
Yeah, if you're like 2 weeks before the bar, I mean, if you have more time, if you're ahead, definitely, get into your mindset, observe yourself, find out what thoughts are you thinking while you go through this, because those thoughts are pretty much the answer to any emotional upheavals you're having through the bar prep season and also on the exam itself. If you can get at the thoughts, if you can self-observe and get at the thoughts, you're 50% of the way solving that problem. But if you're like just 2 weeks ahead, and the bar is right around the corner, there's probably not any time there to change your study style, technique, or approach, but you can change how you think about things. And one of the tools I recommend for that is just going inside and getting to the root. Go inside and soothe that inner child, that voice that's screaming to be heard. Soothe it directly instead of like shoving it in the closet with more study time. Open the door, hear what it's got to say, and speak to it directly, right? And I used to host this pre-bar calming session that helped people do exactly that. It's, 45 minutes long, and we would go through some last minute knowledge tips that you need to know about mindset, right? Because it was usually held the Sunday before the bar. So we're not changing anything about your academics, but we can help the mind because if the mind can quiet down, you can get those few more points that push you past, right? So we would talk about some mindset techniques that they could implement, and we would do a meditation visualization right there in the session, just 10 minutes long. But the comments that we would receive afterwards, oh my goodness, I feel so much more powerful. I feel so grounded. I feel stable. Like all of those worries are gone. You get that just by going inside and talking directly to that anxious, scared, panicked voice. So I'm going to make it available for anybody who wants to download it. Make it freely available to just see the recording of what we used to do back in, I think we stopped it in 2023, but we have all the recordings. So I'll make one available. But I would say biggest tips is to catch those thoughts and at least become aware of what you're saying to yourself that's causing you to feel so bad. And then go inside and talk directly to that voice as a loving parent would, as a loving, encouraging person would, right? And there's a visualization in that recording that walks you through doing that. So yeah, those would be the tips.
Nice. I like the emphasis placed on speak to yourself like a loving parent or a loving person. Because we are
Mhm,
kind of guilty of being our own bullies in many ways.
mhm. You're right.
It's like you don't have if you would not allow someone else to come in and say that to you, why are you tormenting yourself?
That's the biggest piece.
I still struggle with that. I think we all do sometimes. But
Mhm,
I think that's like the thing that was able to kind of keep me in decent spirits.
mhm. Speak to yourself differently. And it brings us back to that beginning piece where it's probably how we got this far, so we didn't even realize it's a problem. Kicking ourselves or bullying ourselves or telling ourselves to get over it. But if you're at a point where you're spiraling before a high stakes, high performance event like the bar exam, then it might be time to question whether your tactics that have gotten you this far will get you past the bar.
Yeah, I am very happy I'm over that hump, but yeah, no, I still am the spiral before anything big.
Mm,
I'm able to catch it a little bit better now, but
that's
I sincerely hope that everyone, especially those who are going into the exam this coming week, like take some time this weekend, catch those thoughts, catch those feelings, address them.
mhm,
Because
exactly,
you may feel like, oh my gosh, the world is over, but feelings are not facts.
exactly. You got it.
I love that.
Mhm,
So
and
you
I love
recommend,
this.
oh, yay! You'd recommend uh, a chill weekend right before the bar, maybe some nice food, if you can swing it, a massage, something that sparks joy.
Yeah, and the whole time, do that loving self-talk, and I mean, talk to yourself like a loving, encouraging parent, or maybe if your parents weren't that, then you could talk to yourself as maybe a teacher, or the visualization I have walks you through picking your avatar, your person who talks to you, right? But like just hear that voice in your head telling you what you can hear in your way. So maybe it telling you, hey, you're gonna ace this exam, you're gonna be just fine, doesn't feel believable. Okay, don't do that then, because you're just gonna kick up resistance. Talk to yourself while you're on that massage table or at that restaurant eating your solo meal, or maybe you're with friends. Talk to yourself like in a way that you can hear and receive. Like, hey, you've done everything you possibly can. The information is in your head. You're doing a wonderful thing right now by just treating yourself and giving yourself this mental space. Everything's going to be all right. You've done hard things. Maybe that's where you're at reparenting wise. That's fine, right? That helps. Just a train of encouraging, uplifting talk that you can believe. If it doesn't feel believable, back up off it. Pick something that feels more believable, because you don't want your subconscious brain kicking back with resistance because of what you're trying to tell yourself. Which is why I tell people to be careful with affirmations, because they can be worded in a way that actually reinforces resistance as opposed to helping you meet your goal, because your brain just doesn't believe it because the way it's worded. So I actually have a recording for affirmations on my YouTube channel that like words it in a way that people can actually like receive it without feeling as unbelievable, no matter what stage you are in the bar process. So talk to yourself in a way that is positive but believable, right? Don't try to be like the Brady Bunch mom. I just dated myself. But don't try to be the Brady Bunch mom talking to yourself. Talking to yourself when you know that that's not the voice you were raised with, right? You might just need to back it off and bring it to something that sounds more believable for you until your nervous system gets used to that. And then you could step it up into something even healthier and even more supportive, right? So that's my tip. Yes, take the weekend, pour into yourself. And while you're doing so that you can actually enjoy the time, give yourself those positive refrains, those repeated positive messages. Imagine someone talking to you in this positive way and carry that voice with you as you go through that relaxed weekend so that you can calm your nervous system. This is the most important thing the weekend before the bar.
I love that. Yeah, I was studying the weekend before the bar, and it's just like, ma'am, you don't remember any of this now.
That's self-soothing 101. That's just
Mhm.
people trying to make themselves feel better. And it makes sense why you would, but here's a more efficient way, like put the books down. Yeah.
So, like, less toxic positivity, more actual,
Mhm.
tangible positivity.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Gotcha. Let's see. We did have one specific question that I wanted to touch on, but we may have already gotten it. One second. Oh yeah, it was just like what do you recommend people do for their last weekend? So, yes, find something that sparks joy, get good snacks. If you must study something passively,
Mhm. Mhm.
maybe watch something that can help trigger certain things in your mind. So for me, it was Law and Order SVU.
Oh.
I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, that is absolutely not the right grounds for that objection. So I was able to kind of like connect it and have fun with it in that way.
Oh, awesome.
So think of stuff like that for sure. Pack your
Okay.
bag.
Mhm. Mhm.
If you're one of those anxious people, I'd say pack your bag. So make sure you have your pencils. Make sure you have your bottle with the no sticker or label or anything on it because that's one more thing that could trip you up.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
If you don't have your IDs, figure out how you're gonna do that this week because Tuesday is almost over, and then you got Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. You don't want to be bothered on Monday.
Right, right. Yeah.
Whatever is gonna make your day, your 2 days rather, easier.
Mhm.
Huh, this
Yeah.
was this was good. You
Yeah.
have such a calming voice.
It has been a benefit in this line of work. So I just want to throw out there how people can reach me if they want
Yes,
to.
please.
You can feel free to email me directly at contact@jenniferduclair.com. So my team keeps an eye on the inbox and will funnel anything that is like high red alert. But hopefully, if you're watching this, you're able to shoot off an email at a time that really allows you space to work on one or two of the biggest mindset things, so that you can like, free yourself to feel calm and confident moving forward. And of course, my YouTube channel is there. Anywhere you search Bar Exam Mentor, my name will pop up and you'll be able to dive into YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, LinkedIn. So I'm on all the channels. So that's how you can find me if you think that this is something that might make a difference for you moving forward, whether you're taking the bar in a couple of days or a couple of months.
Nice. And your attorney coaching services as well.
Hmm.
Stressed
Hmm.
out lawyers.
Yeah. Definitely. So I help both sides of it and more. We have a growing specialty because I've had people come in from other licensing exams. Mindset is mindset. And if it's keeping you from starting your career, let's not do that anymore. Let's take care of the mindset so you can start your career, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, we're here.
Yes, a lot of times we are our own worst enemy.
Mhm.
So let Mrs. Duclair help you get out your own way. Okay, people?
Love that. Thank you so much, Elle.
Yes, thank you for joining me on such short notice. I really appreciate you. And I think folks are going to feel a lot more calm going into this last weekend before the exam. At least I hope you guys do.
Thank you. That means a lot. I'm so happy that we can make this happen.
Oh, someone said that's great. Oh, yay.
You're welcome. I
Yes, this,
loved it
this was
too.
awesome. Thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
I would, we will talk.
Okay then.
Thanks, guys. Okay, there we go.